The design of the Roman shield, known as the scutum, was fundamental to the legion's combat tactics. Its rectangular shape was no accident, but a strategic choice that fit perfectly with the Roman philosophy of war. The Romans began using this type of shield sometime in the early 4th century BC. It was at this time that they shifted their military tactics from the phalanx to the manipular formation, a far more flexible system. For this change to work, a shift in military equipment was necessary. Up until then, the Romans used the clypeus, a large circular convex shield, very similar to those used by Greek hoplites. Although the clypeus was functional and offered good frontal defense in direct combat, it carried with it the limitations of an older military era. The phalanx formation, in which soldiers marched shoulder to shoulder with their round shields, was rigid and only worked well on flat, open terrain. With this shield, soldiers generally aligned themselves in tight ranks, 8 lines deep. The first and most obvious advantage of the scutum was its protective capacity. Its rectangular curved shape wrapped around the legionary's body, covering him from shoulder to knee. This more complete coverage was essential in close combat, since it allowed the soldier to use his shield to block and push the enemy, while still having more freedom to attack with his short sword, the gladius. The round clypeus, on the other hand, left parts of the soldier's body exposed, forcing him to rely more on weapon skill to deflect blows. We can see the effectiveness of this protection in battles such as the Battle of Pydna in 168 BC, where the Roman army of Lucius Aemilius Paulus faced the Macedonian phalanx. Although the Macedonians were feared for their long spears and dense formation, the flexibility of the Roman legion, combined with the protection offered by the scutum, allowed the Romans to break through Macedonian lines and force the engagement into close quarters, where Roman swords and rectangular shields proved decisive for victory. Another advantage of the rectangular shield was its straight edges, which were ideal for building a shield wall. While round shields left small gaps when aligned, the rectangular form allowed soldiers to fit together perfectly, creating a solid and impenetrable barrier against a hail of projectiles. This feature made possible the famous testudo formation, or tortoise, where legionaries sheltered under a roof of shields, advancing safely against enemy defenses during sieges. Such a tactic would have been impractical with the clypeus. The Greek historian Polybius, who lived in the 2nd century BC and was an eyewitness to many Roman campaigns, described the effectiveness of this tactic. He noted that the uniformity of the shields allowed soldiers to lock together seamlessly, side by side, leaving no gaps. When the legionaries stood in tight formation, the scutum created a continuous, almost impenetrable barrier, protecting the front line from showers of arrows, spears, and missiles thrown by enemies, like the Gauls or Parthians. The rigidity of the phalanx with its round shields was a weakness in rough terrain. The Roman legion, however, needed to fight in mountains, forests, and swamps, and it was the scutum that made this adaptation possible. With the new shield, the Romans reorganized their legions into smaller, more agile units, the maniples. These groups could move, bypass obstacles, and regroup quickly, something impossible for a massive phalanx. This change proved crucial, for example, in the Samnite Wars. The Samnites, a warlike mountain people, used guerrilla tactics in rugged terrain, where the Roman phalanx proved ineffective. The adoption of the new legionary structure, with its rectangular shields and more flexible tactics, was a decisive factor in Rome's victory over the Samnites, paving the way for Roman control of Italy. Thus, the scutum became one of the legionaries' greatest allies. It's no wonder that a soldier who returned home without his shield felt humiliated. The Roman historian Tacitus wrote, "To abandon the shield was the worst disgrace." This deeply ingrained sense of honor ensured soldiers protected their shields as they protected their lives. But tell me in the comments, which do you think was the greatest advantage of the Roman rectangular shield? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.